Hey everyone, I'm Kevin with My Shop Assist. In this video, I'm going to go over how to create users and how to configure everything you can do as a user. We've made the system highly customizable for each type of person, whether you be a manager or just a general technician or an accountant. There's a lot of functionality both in how the jobs are viewed, what you see, how you interact with the site, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to go over and show you how it all is set up and then how you use it all. Okay, so to get started, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your dashboard. And then in the middle here, you have a user section. So we're going to click that. And this is going to show you all the users you have at your shop. First, you'll have a plus user on the top right, and you'll have a manage user. And the manage user is just a table of all the users you have. And you can do add users either way. You can also just click on any one of them and edit them that way as well. And that will give it to you as well. And for your own settings, you can click your avatar on the top right, and you can go to settings there as well. So they're all different ways to get to it. So let's go ahead and set up, first we'll set up a technician because that's going to have the most stuff that we can change. So we're going to create a new user, and let's go ahead and give this person a username. Give them a first name and a last name. The email is very important because if you ever need to reset your password, if you put an email in there, that's how it emails them back. If you do not put an email in there, the technician will not be able to reset their password without a manager doing it from their login. It actually does make it easier if you're using like placeholder accounts. So if you're not actually making a user, but you want to set like maybe like an outsourced work or a shop that you deal with that does work for you, that's one way of doing it. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and put it in here. And phone number, you can use this as well. And then security is where you're going to set the password. And then the role. So the role, we have a few different variations of it. Really, these are just all the same way. We just kind of toggle on and off some default settings for them. So we're going to go ahead and set this up as a technician. The important thing to note is managers have full functionality, and then all the other ones are configurable. So obviously the owner or whoever set up the account generally is going to be a manager, and everyone else other than actual managers would be technicians. Color, this is going to be how jobs show up on the calendar for you, and also if you don't upload an avatar, your little initials will be the color as well. So if we go ahead and set this guy to be green, that's what it will be. The starting page, this is going to be when you first log in, what page it's going to be. I think dashboard is the default. Most people are going to run it there. I do see people using the job calendar. Some use the zones page. I've seen people going straight to the reports. So there's a lot of different options on here. But for the most part, dashboard is a good starting place. And then the last one, these are going to be important settings as well. The completed jobs to zone. What this is this is an automation we have in the system. So when this user or whoever I'm setting up here completes a job, it will automatically move that job to whatever zone I select in here. So ideally, you'd want to get the jobs to the completed zone or any completed zone that you have, or you can move it to other things. Like at my personal shop, I have it set up so that way when I complete a job, it moves to my export zone. That lets me know I need to take payment on it. The card needs to get picked up, and I need to export it to QuickBooks. From there, I manually drag it into the completed zone. For this example, we'll just set it as completed. The hourly rate, this is going to be the employee's wage, or what you pay this person. This is also, it's not important for just the basic stuff. It is useful if you start looking at the reports, though. So if you put what you pay the person per hour, when you go to look at like your gross profit on labor, it will subtract out the hourly rate that you paid the technician. So that way you can see like true profit on tasks, whether if they go way over on an estimate, your cost of labor might be more than what you made on the task. And it also does show up on our profitability guide. It's useful for calculating like wages and stuff like that. So if you go ahead and put in something here like $40 an hour, and the expense rate, this is useful if a technician bills out at a different hourly rate than anybody else. So if you have one guy that bills out at like $200 an hour and all he does is custom tuning, you can put that in here, and then maybe everybody else is at $150. So you can put custom rates on here if you want. which is one more way of like billing hourly tasks if you want to do it that way. Okay, so at this point we can save it, and it will create the user, and you can see we got his initials on here, and anywhere there's a job or a task, we can go in and we can assign things to him. So we could change this to be John Doe, and we can change individual tasks to be assigned to John Doe as well if we wanted to. That one was a order here. Here we go. These are tasks, so we can reassign tasks to John Doe. So that's kind of how it works, right? Okay, so we'll go back to the dashboard, and we're going to edit this guy some more. So up on the top here, you have more options. So we set up the user's information first. The next one is going to be the permissions. And there's a lot of stuff on here and it keeps growing. This is really how you customize what the person can and cannot do. Just remember, if they're a manager, you won't even have this page because everything is toggled on. So I'll just kind of go through all of them because that's what this video is for. The ability to view and delete zones or edit zones and move zones. This is for your jobs page. So when I close this and go to my jobs page here, these are what we call zones, and you can move them around by dragging stuff, and you can add more of them with the little the blank thing here, and you can rename them. All those functionality is set up in the inside of that permission section, these zones in here. So being able to turn them on, being able to view them, delete them, edit zones, move zones. You will definitely want to be able to view the zones by default, and then delete zones, edit zones, move zones. That's just kind of if you want to have them permission to do that. Timers, very obvious. If they're a technician, they're going to be wanting to start a timer, so you need to have that one turned on. Like an accountant or somebody, they don't need to run timers, so that's not that important. Being able to edit timers, this one is very important if they're like a shop lead and they need to be able to, correct the technicians underneath them's time. But if they're just a regular technician, maybe they don't need to be able to edit time, and you need to be monitoring that rather than letting them do it. And multiple timers, that just lets the technician run multiple timers at once. We added that a long time ago because there are certain use cases where that's necessary. If you leave it off, it will automatically clock them out of one job and start them on the next task if they switch. So that way they can't run multiple timers. But if you do have multiple timers on, it will ask them, do you want to continue or do you want to stop the old one? And it gives them the option to do either or both. The jobs, this is when you are inside of a job, what you can and cannot do inside of a job. So obviously editing the job, editing folders. This is not very necessary unless you do like restorations or you have a lot of big projects where you're setting up different folders inside of a job. You're definitely going to want to let them edit job tasks and edit job parts. These are like the core of what a technician is going to do, and edit job comments also. This is where they leave their notes and what they did on each task. Assigning a task or assigning a tech, this is also pretty important. You need to be able to assign a tech to really add a task to a job. So that's kind of, I should probably relate these, because in order to do this one, you also have to have this one turned on to be able to add new tasks to a job. But if you need to reassign a task to a different person, that's what this would be turned on. View work order and edit payment. These are being able to see basically the bill of the job. So a lot of shops don't have this turned on for technicians because they don't need them seeing the invoices or payments involved with it. But if they do need to see that, or if you do have them handle payments occasionally, then you will want to turn these on. Delete job, delete folder, delete job task, this sort of stuff. If you trust them enough to remove stuff from a job that's not supposed to be there, you can go ahead and do that. Most of the stuff I can recover if you do accidentally delete stuff. You can always message me. And we actually added some of the recovering tools so that we can recover it yourself in the system as well. So now you can do that on your own. Edit job checklists, scheduling jobs. This is more, obviously, if you want to put it on the calendar or move it around, that's a functionality you can give them. Deleting files. So that would be the pictures, photos, videos, that kind of stuff. And then edit invoice adjustments. These are going to be like fees or discounts or like a credit card fee or sponsorship discount, that kind of thing at the bottom of an invoice. So that's the job. This is where the core of most of what a technician is going to do. So pay close attention to what you're doing in this one. The parts, this is going to be related to what we call the shop part. So inside of a job, you will have parts. Those are job parts. They're treated a little different. the parent or what you pull from the template is going to be called the shop part, and that's this right here. If you want them being able to create their own parts to put into the database, then you will need to turn this on. Otherwise, a technician will only be able to pull from what's already in the list. And that makes it, sometimes it makes it a little difficult to work on a car if you don't have the parts that you need in your system. So you would want to give them the ability or the permission to turn this, be able to turn this on and do it. From there, they'll be able to edit or view the retail price. So the edit retail price, view retail price, and view wholesale price and edit wholesale price. So you can give them the ability to see it but not edit it, or you can give them the ability to edit it as well. And then edit inventory. If you're tracking quantity on hand, you can turn that on and off for them as well. Tax rate. This one, obviously, edit tax rate. For most shops, you set this once and never have to worry about it. And really, technicians basically never need to do that because it's just a once and done thing for managers. Tasks. This is the same thing as parts. So the parts, this is what we call the shop parts. This is what we call the shop tasks. So shop tasks, again, it's like the parent or the template that you pull from to add a task to a job. And you want to be able to edit the shop task if you want them to be able to add new tasks, or deactivate tasks or edit task pricing. Any of this sort of stuff, you turn it on here. If a technician, or basically if you want to give this person the ability to add new users or edit them, that would be here, as well as the edit time clock if they need to be able to edit their own time clock. Shop settings. This gets into kind of the almost specifically management stuff, but like managing the subscription, like editing the shop settings or information, your checklist items. Some of this stuff never needs to be changed or very infrequently needs to change. So there's really not a whole lot of reasons for you to give these permissions to it, but we do allow you to do it if you need to. Editing vendors might be one that you might want to do, because especially with like a person who is a parts guy, then they'll want to deal with that. Same with purchase orders as well. The view the reports, that's also an important one for managers. We do give technicians the ability to see their own time and their own employee service report by default, but the other reports you can turn on with this click here. Forums, this is coming, this is new, so we do have a built-in web forum for MSA. So it allows you to communicate with everybody in the MSA network, not just your own shop. And that's coming, and you'll be able to turn on whether they can see it and respond to stuff in there. And then the customers, this is related to the customers on a job. So if you want them to be able to view a customer, or edit the customer information, view customer messages, this is related to the chat. Also, this is related to the chat, and then viewing the customer contact info would be like their phone number and email address. So that's the permissions. As you toggle things on and off, it'll automatically update for that person. So then it kind of limits what they can do, or maybe gives them access to something they couldn't do before. Okay, so the next section, these are what we call user settings. What these are, or kind of how the site interacts with you. We have given access to the technician themselves to configure how they want, but some of them is management has to set it for them. But for an example here, I'll walk through them all as well. If you are using the text messaging, you can turn on an audible alert when a message is received. So you hear a bell ring, it'll go bing when you get a message from a customer. And then we can also show a pop-up notification, which is a big bubble that appears on the top right, and it'll stay there for 30 seconds until you either respond to it. And every time you log in, it'll reappear until you acknowledge that it's been there. Automatically select tasks and parts in add form. This is going to be related to groups. So if you build a task group and a task has parts on it, you can have it automatically select all the parts or not select the parts, meaning maybe you don't want to have all the 25 parts automatically selected on this thing, and some of them are optional. So you can kind of decide if you want them all pre-selected or not. And then the next 4 here are related to how jobs are viewed. So what would I mean by always show task description, always show task comments, always show task parts, and expand all? So expand all is going to basically do all these at once. And there's a few other things that expands as well. But what I mean by that, and let me go into a job just so you can see. So we'll go into the jobs. This is a task. If I click on it, it's going to expand it out. So you can see if I turn on the description, it's going to show the description. So that was one of the options. Showing the parts was one of the options. And then the other one was being able to see the comments. And so you can turn on all these to view by default, so that when you come into a job, it's already kind of expanded for you. If you have very large jobs where these tasks are like lined up and you scroll forever, it does help to shrink it down by not having that stuff selected. But the opposite is true for if you name everything the same. So if everything is labor, and you're doing custom work, so everything is actually like just hourly stuff, having the description is critical. Otherwise, you'll never know which one any of them are without clicking into them all. So you can toggle that on and off in your user settings by going into these guys here. Always expand this stuff if you want. Okay, and then the next two are related to clocking in and clocking out. So this one is when you start a task timer, also asked to clock in. So when you go into a job and start a timer on it, if you are not clocked in, it will prompt you to clock in before you can start the task timer. So that's kind of what that is. These are both related to people like forgetting to clock in and out all the time, and they're just kind of like catches to make sure that everybody's doing everything correctly. And then this opposite one is when you clock out at the end of the day, it will automatically stop job timers. So that makes sure that you're clocked in and you're clocked out and everything is stopped when you clock out. Only allow employee service reports to be filtered for a single employee. This is really just it's a very specific use case. So when you're going to the employee service report, so if I jump over to the employee service report here, we have a selector here. And if you have it set to only allow one at a time, you don't have to like unselect it every time. It'll just jump and you can have just one at a time always. See, this is two people. I can select it to just be one. That's what that is. It's very, very specific thing that it was basically a shop requested that to happen. And so we just made it happen for them. Okay, so that was the, okay, filtered by single employee. Okay, so the hide, the sidebar on the calendar page by default, this is related to the calendar. So when you go to the calendar here, this panel here, which gives you all the information and the filters, you can hide it. So it's just a giant calendar. You can have it basically by default hidden with that setting. So when you go into your settings here, you can go and make it always hidden. The hide hour summary on the zone column, this one is related to the zone. So when you go to the jobs, when I hover over these zones, you can see the hours in the zone appear, which is the logged hours and the remaining hours. So if you're looking at like total hours in a zone, you'll want to see that. Like if you're trying to calculate, well, maybe this area is like has too much work, and we need to move jobs over or not give them more jobs, or make give more employees in this area. Just kind of depends on how you're running your shop, but it will total up the hours in here. And you can, if you don't want these zones moving around like that, you can disable that setting if that information is not useful for you. And then let's see, show inactive tasks and zero quantity parts on job details. This is also a very specific case where there are cases where when you delete a part or you need a part to have a zero quantity on hand in a job, what we do by default is if the quantity is zero, we don't show it anymore. We hide it and remove it from everything. But there are cases when you want to add like zero quantity on stuff and then adjust it as it goes up. And if you can't see it with zero quantity, then you can't adjust it. And so we do allow you to turn on the ability to see parts with a zero quantity instead of hiding it. And the default to work order view, this is related to like an office person or an accountant. Basically, anytime they go into a job, it will automatically go straight to the work order view instead of the job view, right? So this is a work order view. This is a job view. If you're a technician, this is like basically the only one you're going to be using. But if you're a manager and you're always taking payment, this is the one you're going to go to. Okay, and then these bottom two, jobs per day on the calendar. This is just a visual setting. So what I mean by that is when you go into the calendar here, actually, let me move these jobs all to be. Okay, so now when I go to the calendar here, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and a +2. So the filter for me is 4. And if I go into my settings here and I go to my user settings and I change this to be like 6, it now changes this filter to 6. So it will show 6 jobs here at a time. And if I keep adding more, it will say +1 because I only have 6 shown. If I reduce this number, it hides them, right? So that's what that is. So if you have like a really small computer screen, you're not going to want a lot of these on here. But if you have a really big computer screen, you can expand it out. So that's what that setting is for. And then the last one on here is the default dashboard sidebar tab. So this is going to be on the dashboard on the right-hand panel. there's 3 different options on here. So let me show you what they are for. So on the dashboard, this panel right here, we have most recent messages. We have a mini calendar, and we have the work completed. The work completed is new, but in my opinion, it's by far the most valuable one on here. The recent messages is also useful. I have found the job calendar to not really be that helpful because we have a full-size calendar. But that is what that setting is for. So if you go to settings, the last one here, and you can set work completed as the default, that's what it will be. Okay, so that's all the user options or user settings. Next, let's go into the permission or the notifications. So if you notice, we have a little notification bell on the top here, and you can toggle on and off all the different notifications that you use. And these are going to be very specific to like what type of work you do. So for example, a new job has been created or a new task has been created. These would be very useful for a technician. So when you create a new job or new task, they will know it's coming from. But maybe they don't do the parts ordering. So the parts need to be ordered and parts have been received. This is not very helpful to them. But this is very important for a parts manager or someone who does in the office who orders the parts. They're going to want to know when a technician has flagged a part as need to be ordered. So if you turn these on, you will get a notification that a part has been marked as need to order. So basically, this little bell up here will start ringing when you get parts that have been marked as need to be ordered. So if I go into one of these and I go to the job view and I mark a part as need to be ordered, I get a little bell. So you can see the bell is ringing up here, and it will say part has been marked as need to be ordered. That's exactly what that is for. Task has been completed or job has been completed, exactly what it sounds like. It will give you a notification if a job or task has been completed. In my opinion, when tasks have been completed, it becomes very, like the bell rings constantly all the time. With the more people you have working for it, it kind of reduces the value of the bell if it's ringing every time somebody completes a task. So my opinion is this is not that useful unless that's what you're looking for. Task has been prioritized. This is useful for a technician if something's been assigned to them and are prioritized. Authorizations have been granted or requested. This is related to customer authorizations on jobs. This is super important if you send requests for authorizations remotely, so text message or email authorization requests to customers. When they sign it, you'll get a notification that it's been signed rather than having to like check it all the time. You'll just get a notification, hey, this person signed it, they're good to go. And then an authorization has been requested. It's just a notification that you know you sent an authorization. Same thing goes for the payments. Again, super important if you do text to pay or email to pay. So if you're sending payment requests to customers, you want to know when they've paid it. I would definitely turn this on because it'll tell you when they made the payment. And same for actually the payment export failure and invoice exported and invoice exported failure. These are all related to Xero and QuickBooks. So if you're doing QuickBooks integration or Xero integration for accounting, when you export a job or a payment, it will let you know if it's failed or succeeded. And that's what these are for. Import completed and import failed. This is related to CSV imports for like customer list, task list, and parts list. It will let you know if it succeeded or failed because some of them can be pretty large and take a little while to do. So we do it all in the back end. So you can upload the file and align the columns and set it all up and hit submit, and then you can keep going in to do stuff, and then it will let you know when it's done if it's succeeded or failed. Vendor access requests. This is really only for shops that are trying to sell their parts in the B2B network. You'll want to know when people have like requested access to you. You turn that on right here. And then if you want to know when your part supplier is ready to use, this is related to connecting to one of those vendors. So if there's a vendor on MSA that you want to connect to, you click this and it will let you know if they've approved you or denied you after you've requested. Okay, so that's all the notifications we have right now. The other settings that I want to go over are going to be related to the themes. So up on the top right here, you have your logo. You can select between light mode and dark mode. I think light mode is the default, but I have been always on dark mode forever and ever, and I just think it's softer on the eyes, easier to see. And I actually do all the testing on here, so sometimes I see like bugs that I don't see in the light mode. But you can use either one of them, and if you see something, let me know. The second thing we just added is related to people who are colorblind. We have a lot of buttons on here that are kind of hard to tell. So like this task button here or this little button here, you can toggle it on and off. And if you're colorblind, it's really hard to tell if it's selected or not. So we added the ability to grayscale everything. And instead of being just a color hue, it's going to be a graphic change. So like this is really obvious if it's selected or not. And so that's related to the grayscaling. So if it's hard for you to see the buttons and the colors, and if they're toggled on or off, you can go to grayscale and it'll work. And it also works in the light mode as well. So it's the same thing, it's just flipped. So that's grayscale. Okay, so the next thing I just added recently is the left-hand navigation bar here. We made this customizable because I have a lot of stuff on here that varies from user to user what you want to see. So this little pencil button up here lets you edit it. So if I click it, I can kind of change what I can see on the left-hand navigation bar. So maybe I have a report that's really important that I want to see, the employee service report. I can click the little plus button and I can look for the reports. That's the employee service report here. Where is it at here? Employee scheduling, employee service report. So we'll add this one right here. And so that's going to add it, and then I can shift it around. So maybe we want to have that up here. And I actually added the job profitability report, which is, in my opinion, now the most important part of the shop. So the profitability guide, I put that at the top of my shop. So when I log in, the very first thing I see is the profitability guide. So it's dashboard profitability guide. You can also break out, like if you do a lot of parts ordering, you can break that out here. Actually, you click the little negative button here and it will move it out. That one there, purchase orders. And now it's its own tab instead of being inside of a group. Or you can add things, you can push things into a group too. So if you want to move it into another menu, you can. If you don't need something, like if you don't need the forum, you can always remove that. Or maybe you don't want to see like the big chat, the full size chat, you can turn those off. So you can always like, hey, maybe I don't need the calendar, we can remove it. So you can customize that, and when you save it, it will adjust the left-hand navigation bar for you. The other thing is we have the, where's the employees stuff here? Show text up on the top here. This little panel here where it shows you if they're clocked in or out, you can turn that on and off too as well if you don't need to see that. And it just shrinks down the amount of stuff you got going on. So that's it. That's really a bulk of the settings for this. And if you have any other questions on how the users are set up or managed, just let me know, and I can always update this video with more information. This is obviously from the first version of this to this video, a lot of things have changed, so I've had to do an update for it. So that's it, and hope you enjoy using MSA.